Okay, today I'm working on a 2011 Infiniti G25, and so dealing with the infamous p0011, p0021. So essentially has something to do with the timing. This one was just starting, so I'm assuming when the vehicle would get warm after driving longer distances, everything is hydraulic or driven by oil pressure. So you have your VVT phasers. It could be your solenoid, but in a lot of these, it's not so much the solenoid, but it loses pressure to the solenoid. So understanding, so this is your oil pump. So your oil pump is going to pump fluid up into here. This is going to be a channel, and this is your oil gallery. And as you can see right off the bat, the infamous oil gallery gasket that blew. So from here, oil pump drives pressure up here, then it comes up through here, and then especially once it's warm, it's losing oil pressure from there. This was only thrown in the code, like I said, after driving longer time where the engine warmed up. Once that oil warms up, oil thins out, and it starts losing its oil pressure here. So behind these is going to be the oil packages, the oil gallery. So this is supplying this bank, and this is supplying that bank. Once it loses oil pressure, the timing gets out of whack because it's not building up enough pressure to be able to move the timing advanced or retarded. So you can see here, right? So this is just mainly a cover, but it goes up. Right here we have this rubber O-ring. Make sure when you're removing and installing that this is seated properly and you don't forget it, because obviously you can lose oil pressure and create more issues there. This is going to be supplying this bank through the front timing cover. This is going to be supplying this bank through the front timing cover. So here is the back of the front timing cover. This is where that one rubber O-ring sits, and then right here is where the other one's going to sit. All right, so right there, those two holes, whenever it's sitting in the engine, as you can see. So I'm just going to set this up right there. Right there is where those two rubber O-rings, and let me get this gasket out of the way. Right in there, you're going to have a screen. So it's possible for those screens to get clogged up, but I've never had that be the case. I've had a couple where the solenoids are bad, but for the most part, it is these oil galleries. So on this is an Infiniti G25. I was able just to remove this cover and see right there that that oil gallery was blown. So right then and then I knew, I had to do the long haul. So once it comes, oil comes through there, it's going to be feed through this front timing cover, and this is where your solenoid is going to sit. Okay, so your solenoid sits right here. It's not going to line up perfectly, but go somewhere right there. Okay, looks like the solenoid has already been replaced before. But the solenoid, you see that oil passage there? That's going to come through here. Okay, so when there's a certain amount of oil pressure, the PCM is going to send a signal for the solenoid to open to create the movement in this camshaft. The moment it doesn't detect that movement when it wants to, is going to throw the timing code. So in this case, we were getting the p0011 and p0021. Obviously, first thing, check oil level and quality of the oil, because low oil can affect the oil pressure and also create this code. If you know oil's good, and you are getting both of the codes simultaneously, meaning you didn't have a code and all of a sudden you have both codes, it is very likely that it's that oil gallery. If you are just getting p0011 or p0021, you can check out your solenoid, because obviously that's just affecting one bank. But it's going to be very rare for both solenoids to go out at the same time. What's common on both banks is oil pressure. It could be a stretch timing chain, something along those lines. However, stretch timing chain would be a little bit more consistent. It's not just going to be like in this case where the oil, when the engine was warm and it's been running for a while. Now this isn't a how-to, obviously. For me, it's, I mean, pick the lesser of evil, right? It's more work to remove the whole front end, but you're working a lot more comfortably and able to get to everything that you need to. This alternator and the power steering pump on this side is just a pain in the butt with the front removed. So in order to get that with the front installed, I can only imagine. There is a bracket here that's pretty tough to get to right above the alternator. You will need to remove that in order to get the alternator out. First, you move the power steering pump. In my case, I just have the power steering pump hanging here. I can just bolt it back up once I have everything put back. Alternator I did remove completely. Power steering cooler I also just kind of hung to the side. Washer reservoir ended up just zip tying to the rim there. Obviously removing the AC condenser and all that, so we remove all the Freon. But just wanted to give people some insight on this code. If it is both of them at the same time, unfortunately, most likely you are going to have blown oil gallery gaskets. And like I said, you are able to, in this G25, I'm pretty sure the G35 too, you can remove just the solenoid cover here and take a look at that. So for that, you will have to replace it, you'll have to remove the timing cover like I am now. Also the timing chain, going over some timing marks. The keyway is at about 11 o'clock. You do have a line there, but you do have your chain links that you'll be able to line up. So you have one right there. You're gonna have one right on this side, on that side. If you put your keyway at 11 o'clock and it's opposite, you just got to do one more rotation with it. Highly recommend replacing timing chain, at least the tensioner. While we're here, water pump would be a great idea. Talk to the customer about that. But obviously right now their main concern is the check engine. So there we are, the dreaded p0011 and p0021. I just want to give my insight. I know there are several videos out there, but wanted to give my insight on it. How to remove, or the fact that I like to remove the front, work a little bit easier getting to everything. I will post in the comments after it's been repaired and let you confirm this did repair it.